Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature Channel. Let yourself settle into a comfortable position as your breathing softens. Tonight, you and I will drift into the quiet, golden world of bees, a place where warm sunlight filters through wildflowers and every tiny movement carries purpose, harmony, and calm. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a meadow. The grass leans gently in the breeze, and somewhere nearby, a soft hum rises and falls like a lullaby. You follow the sound without hurry, feeling the air warm around you, as if the day itself is exhaling. As you walk, you notice how bees never rush. They float from bloom to bloom, guided by sunlight, drawn by colors your eyes can barely see. Each bee remembers the shape of every flower she visits, holding tiny maps in her mind, warm as honey. Her wings, though so delicate, beat hundreds of times a second, yet the sound they make is soft, almost sleepy, as if inviting you to breathe just a little slower. You may not realize it, but bees can sense the electric field around a flower, feeling tiny signals that guide them toward the richest nectar. Some flowers even shift their charge when recently visited, whispering to the bees, "This cup is empty, try another." It's a quiet conversation happening in the air, all around you, gentle and invisible. As you sit in the meadow, a single bee hovers in front of a blossom, reading its colors like a page of a book. Bees see ultraviolet patterns hidden from human eyes, soft glowing pathways painted by the petals themselves. They follow these lines inward toward sweetness held deep within each bloom. And when a bee returns home, she carries the memory of the meadow with her, not just in her mind, but on her body. Pollen gathers on her legs like tiny golden beads. Each grain, so small you could hardly see it, is a fragment of the landscape, a piece of sunlight, a promise of life she will share with her hive. Inside the hive, the air is warm and dim. Every bee knows her place, moving through the narrow passages guided by touch, scent, and the soft vibration of wings. Their home holds a constant, comfortable temperature, maintained by thousands of tiny bodies working as one. Some bees fan their wings to cool the brood, creating breezes gentle enough to soothe even your thoughts. Others press close together in the chill of night, their warmth rising like a slow, steady heartbeat. Honey, the golden treasure of the hive, begins as nectar carried in a bee's special stomach. Inside her, the nectar changes, becoming thicker, sweeter, softer in flavor. Back in the hive, bees fan it with their wings until the last drop of moisture drifts away, leaving the familiar glow we know as honey. Every spoonful of it, every shimmer, is the result of patient journeys through sunlight and flowers. When a new day dawns, bees greet the world by dancing. A forager returns and moves in slow, graceful curves, telling her sisters where the best blossoms wait. These dances carry distance and direction, written in small arcs of movement, like a living compass turning in the dim light. It is one of nature's quiet marvels, a language of motion woven from instinct and memory. And as you listen to their soft buzzing in the meadow, you may notice how peaceful their world feels. Bees rarely stray without purpose. They move toward calm places, sun-warmed petals, gentle breezes, open skies. You can almost feel that calm settling over you now, the way the bees settle over a field in morning light. Let your breath follow their rhythm, unhurried, warm, gentle. And as the meadow drifts into a soft haze of gold around you, You sense the quiet truth bees carry everywhere they go, that life can be slow, steady, and deeply sweet when you move with intention and let the world unfold one blossom at a time. The meadow greets you again, just as softly as before. You feel the air settling around you, warm and calm, as if the day itself remembers your presence and is glad you have returned. You take a slow step through the tall grass, and the world feels unhurried, painted in shades of gold and pale green. Somewhere ahead, a muted hum rises and falls, the steady breath of a small, peaceful universe held together by bees. As you walk, you notice a cluster of flowers opening with the morning light. Bees arrive almost instantly, as if called. They know that flowers bloom on gentle schedules, and many bees learn these rhythms, visiting the same blossoms at the same hour each day. In this way, they move through time as gracefully as they move through air. You watch a bee pause on a petal, her tiny feet brushing the surface. Flowers hold small droplets of nectar deep inside, and a bee can taste them through delicate receptors on her tongue, fine and flexible like a tiny golden straw. As she sips, her antennae quiver faintly, reading scents, moisture, even the warmth of sunlight still resting on the blossom. Nearby, another bee drifts between flowers with a heaviness to her movement. She carries pollen packed onto her hind legs in soft, glowing baskets. These baskets, called corbiculae, are made of hairs shaped perfectly to hold the pollen in place. As she flies, the yellow bundles catch the light, quiet sparks of color moving gently through the air. A breeze rolls over the meadow, and with it comes the scent of clover and warm earth. Bees are especially drawn to certain aromas. Their sense of smell is so fine that they can detect the faint signature of a blooming flower from far across a field. Each fragrance is a guide, a quiet map carried by the wind, leading them to sweetness tucked within petals. You kneel beside a patch of wild thyme, the ground soft beneath your hands. A bee lands nearby and begins to vibrate her wings in a gentle, rapid tremor. This is buzz pollination, a technique where she shakes pollen loose from flowers that keep it locked away. The vibration is subtle, almost like the faint hum inside a seashell, and it releases a golden cloud. The bee gathers with ease. Deeper in the meadow, a drone, a male bee, floats with a different kind of movement. Lighter, drifting, unburdened by pollen or nectar. His role is simple, woven into the larger harmony of the hive. He does not gather food or build combs. Instead, he helps ensure the future and spends his days enjoying the warmth of the sun and the richness of the air. You continue walking, and the light shifts gently through the leaves. Bees use the position of the sun as a natural compass, adjusting their flights as the sky changes. Even on cloudy days, they read patterns of polarized light, streams of direction humans cannot see. With this hidden guidance, they navigate the world with a grace that feels timeless. A honeybee settles nearby on a fallen log. You notice how soft and fuzzy her body is. The tiny hairs covering her form serve many purposes. They trap pollen, sense vibrations in the air, and even help her feel changes in temperature before the rest of the meadow does. Each hair is tuned to the landscape, a living connection between bee and world. As she grooms herself, she brushes pollen down toward her legs with meticulous, soothing movements. Grooming is a quiet ritual for bees, keeping them clean, healthy, and ready for the next flower. There is something calming in how carefully she moves, as if reminding you that even small moments of care can steady the mind. The sun rises a little higher, warming the tops of the grasses. Some bees begin to fly in gentle loops outside their hive, orientation flights, small spirals that teach young bees how the landscape looks and feels. They memorize landmarks, a stone, a tree, the shape of the horizon, before venturing farther into the meadow. You sit in the grass and breathe deeply, letting the peace of their world settle softly around your shoulders. Every bee you see moves with intention, yet never with haste. Their quiet purpose reminds you that calm is a kind of strength, and that the sweetest parts of life are gathered gradually, one moment at a time. As the hum drifts across the meadow, you feel it in your chest, gentle as a heartbeat, a reminder from the bees that the world becomes softer when you slow down enough to feel its rhythm. The meadow welcomes you back with the same warm hush as before, as if it remembers the softness of your steps. You breathe in slowly, feeling the air settle around your shoulders like a light shawl woven from sunlight and quiet wind. A soft hum reaches you again, not loud, never hurried, just a calm ripple of sound rising from thousands of tiny wings moving in harmony. You find yourself drawn toward a patch of clover, its blossoms glowing gently in the morning light. Here, the bees work in unison, moving in curved, peaceful paths that feel almost like a dance. You notice something delicate. Each bee carries a unique scent, a tiny chemical signature that tells the others who she is and where she has been. This scent helps the hive stay organized, a quiet perfume of identity woven into every movement. As you watch, a forager returns from a distant patch of flowers. Before she enters the hive, guard bees greet her with gentle antenna touches, checking her scent, making sure she belongs. These guards are never harsh. They simply recognize the fragrance of home, the warm blend of wax and honey that marks every member of their family. Inside the hive, a soft golden light filters through the comb. The walls are built with perfect precision, hexagons shaped from wax that bees create by converting honey inside their bodies. It takes many bees working together to raise the temperature just enough to soften the wax so they can sculpt it into the familiar pattern that fills the hive with structure and harmony. The combs hold more than honey. They cradle the brood, tiny eggs laid by the queen. Each egg is no larger than a grain of rice, yet from it will come a bee with instincts as old as the flowers themselves. Nurse bees tend to the brood with tenderness in every gesture, feeding the young with royal jelly, a rich, nourishing substance made just for growing bodies. You pause, imagining the warmth inside the hive. Bees keep it at just the right temperature, fanning their wings to cool it or gathering close to warm it until it becomes a perfectly regulated space for life to grow. This steady breath of the hive feels like a heartbeat of the meadow itself. Back outside, you sit beneath a branch of wild apple blossoms as petals drift down like soft, pale snow. Bees love these blooms, drawn by scents so subtle they hardly register to you. With every visit, they gently pollinate the flowers, carrying grains of pollen from one blossom to another with effortless grace. Without bees, these trees would bear no fruit. The whole orchard depends on these quiet, golden workers. Across the meadow, bumblebees move differently. Their bodies seem heavier, their buzzing deeper, like small, drifting clouds. Bumblebees can fly in cooler temperatures than honeybees can, their thick coats holding warmth close so they can greet the earliest flowers of spring when the air is still crisp. Their presence brings a comforting hum, lower and more soothing than the lighter buzz of honeybees. You watch a bumblebee crawl slowly into the center of a pale flower, her entire body dusted with golden pollen. She seems unbothered, even delighted, as she gathers the grains onto her tiny legs. Her movements are slow, methodical, unhurried. It reminds you that even the busiest creatures can move gently through their day. Nearby, a bee pauses to clean her antennae, sweeping them with her front legs as carefully as someone polishing glasses. Antennae are her sensors, her way of smelling, tasting, and feeling the world. Keeping them clean is essential for her calm, clear navigation through sunlight and wind. A gentle breeze passes through the grass, and you notice how bees adjust mid-flight without hesitation. Their wings beat so fast that even small shifts in the air become part of their motion. They stabilize themselves instinctively, reading currents the way you read a warm breath on your cheek. Further down the meadow, a cluster of flowers glows in the sun. Bees gather here because they can sense the warmth of petals. Flowers heat themselves slightly to attract visitors, offering a cozy resting place for tired wings. Bees often choose the warmest blooms, settling in them like small, fuzzy lanterns soaking in comfort. You sit still, and the world seems to slow with you. The hum of bees becomes softer, deeper, like a distant melody. It carries no urgency, only calm purpose, steady and warm. As the golden light pools around you, you feel yourself settling, breathing with the same relaxed rhythm that guides the entire meadow. Bees move with quiet confidence, and their world invites you to do the same. Here, surrounded by their gentle presence, the day feels soft, unhurried, and sweet as honey. The meadow greets you again, soft and warm, as though the air itself remembers the rhythm of your footsteps. A slow breeze carries the scent of wildflowers, and somewhere nearby, the gentle hum of bees glides across the morning like a whisper. You walk toward a sunlit patch where the grasses bend in graceful arcs. Each blade holds a glimmer of dew, catching the light in tiny silver droplets. Bees love mornings like this, calm, bright, filled with the first fresh blooms of the day. A honeybee drifts past you, her body shimmering lightly with pollen dust left from her earlier visits. You notice how her eyes catch the light. 5 of them, 3 tiny simple ones on top and 2 large compound eyes on the sides. Together, they help her see patterns, movement, and colors that humans cannot imagine. Ultraviolet trails on flower petals become glowing pathways that guide her to nectar with the quiet clarity of stars. A little farther ahead, you find a bee hovering gently near a blossom. She moves in perfect stillness for a moment, her wings beating too fast for you to see. Bees can hover like this to taste the air around a flower before deciding whether to land. The air carries invisible clues, the faint sweetness of nectar, the soft chemical signal that tells her whether another bee has visited recently. Everything speaks to her through scent and vibration, a hidden language the meadow holds. A cluster of yellow asters blooms nearby. Bees walk slowly across their petals, swaying slightly as if rocked by the flower itself. Their feet are sensitive enough to feel tiny electric patterns left by previous visitors. This tells them which flowers are still full and which ones have already shared their nectar. It is a gentle, effortless way to move through the meadow without wasting energy or time. You pause beside a fallen branch covered in pale lichen. A solitary bee, not a honeybee, but one of the thousands of native solitary species, lands quietly on it. She has no hive and no workers to help her. Her life is simple, calm, woven into moments of gathering pollen and finding a safe place to lay her eggs. Most solitary bees live peaceful, gentle lives and rarely travel far from where they were born. You watch as she explores a crevice in the wood. She might claim it as a nest. Solitary bees choose hollow stems, cracks in bark, or empty burrows in the ground. Inside, they make tiny chambers sealed with pollen and nectar for their future young. Each chamber is a small, quiet cradle, filled with enough food for a single bee to grow. It is a tender kind of care, unhurried and instinctive. A few steps away, you hear a deeper buzz, lower, warm, almost velvety. A bumblebee is nestled halfway inside a violet, so deep that only her back legs stick out from the petals. Bumblebees are wonderfully calm, and they often sleep inside flowers at night, curled up like tiny furry lanterns resting in the soft folds of petals. The violet sways gently, and the bumblebee lifts her head slowly, covered in a dusting of golden pollen. She takes her time, pausing in the warm air before rising heavily and floating to the next bloom. Her whole presence is serene, a reminder to move softly and listen to the quiet spaces between each breath. You find a patch of lavender, and the air around it is alive with subtle fragrance. Bees adore lavender not only for its nectar, but for its calming scent. As they land on each spike, you see how carefully they step, as though they respect the softness of every blossom. Lavender's shape makes it easy for bees to rest a while, and they linger here longer than on other flowers. A honeybee settles on a warm stone nearby. Bees often pause to absorb heat before continuing their work, warming their tiny muscles until flight becomes effortless again. The sun warms her wings, turning them almost translucent, fragile looking, yet strong enough to carry her miles if needed. In the distance, you see a few bees circling slowly near a tall oak tree. They are performing orientation flights, memorizing landmarks, lighting the world into their minds like a soft, glowing map. They imprint the shapes of trees, the angle of the horizon, and even the slight tilt of the meadow. It is their way of staying connected to home, no matter how far they travel. As you watch them rise and fall in gentle spirals, you feel a sense of peace settling over your chest. The bees are not in a hurry. They move with purpose, yes, but always with a softness you can feel deep inside. You sit on the grass and close your eyes for a moment. The hum of wings, the scent of flowers, the warmth of sunlight. They blend quietly into a lullaby made by nature itself, a reminder that calm is always near, wrapped in the gentle rhythm of the world around you. The morning deepens softly as you return to the meadow, and the air feels warm against your skin like a quiet promise of calm. Somewhere in the field, the familiar hum of bees drifts gently toward you, steady and warm, as if welcoming you back into their peaceful world. You walk slowly between tall grasses that sway with the lightest breeze. The sound around you is subtle, the whisper of leaves, the rustle of petals, and the gentle vibration of wings passing nearby like drifting notes of music. A honeybee glides toward a patch of blossoms and lands gently on a daisy. You notice how she begins with a small circle, moving in a deliberate pattern so she can taste every part of the flower's center. Bees can sense tiny differences in nectar levels with remarkable accuracy, reading each bloom's sweetness like you might read a line of soft handwriting. Near you, a cluster of blossoms trembles as a group of bees move around it. Their legs, dusty with pollen, brush the petals with each step. You can almost feel how light their touch is, gentle enough not to disturb a single petal more than necessary. A bee hovers for a moment near a bright orange poppy, her wings beating so quickly that they blur into a faint halo. Bees use these brief pauses to gauge the flower's warmth. Some blossoms hold pockets of heat that lure them in, offering a cozy landing spot like a sun-warmed blanket. You move a little farther and see a honeybee carefully dipping her head deep into a bell-shaped flower. Bees have tiny hairs on their eyes, like delicate lashes that help them sense airflow and protect their vision as they navigate tight spaces. These hairs shimmer in the sun as the bee emerges once more. A bumblebee floats by, her hum deeper and softer than the honeybee's bright buzz. Bumblebees can regulate their body temperature by vibrating their muscles, warming themselves enough to fly even in cooler weather. This ability makes them early visitors in the day and loyal friends of spring flowers that bloom before the world is fully warm. You watch her settle inside a bloom with petals shaped like a small cup. Bumblebees are strong enough to push into flowers too heavy for other bees. Their persistence helps pollinate plants that depend on those deeper, more sheltered blossoms. Nearby, a honeybee lands on a blade of grass and begins to stroke her wings with her legs. Bees clean their wings often to keep them smooth and efficient. Even the smallest grain of dust can change how air moves around them. This careful grooming helps them fly gracefully through shifting breezes. A soft glow catches your eye, sunlight reflecting off a tiny droplet clinging to a bee's curved antenna. Bees rely on their antennae to sense direction, moisture, and even the subtle taste of the air. They can feel the difference between warm wind and cool shade, allowing them to choose the gentlest paths through the meadow. As you sit down on the grass, you notice a small patch of white clover. Different bees visit it one by one, never colliding, always moving as though guided by the same slow rhythm. Bees rarely bump into each other because they sense vibrations in the air and adjust their path mid-flight. This delicate awareness keeps the meadow peaceful and flowing like a quiet dance. A small solitary mason bee appears, carrying a bright yellow streak of pollen down her abdomen. Mason bees use mud to seal their tiny nests in wood or stone, creating little homes filled with carefully gathered pollen. They are gentle, diligent, and remarkably efficient pollinators, often visiting more flowers than honeybees do in the same time. You lean back slightly and listen to the changing tones of the meadow. The hum shifts as bees explore new flowers, their movements forming a soft wave of sound that rises and falls like a natural lullaby. A bee flies close to your hand, hovering with curiosity. Bees do not see you as a threat in calm moments like this. They simply read your shape, your stillness, your warmth, and then drift away if you feel peaceful. They are remarkably attuned to gentle energy. You take a slow breath and feel yourself sink deeper into the quiet. The bees around you move with patience, each flight a reminder that the world does not need to be rushed. the sweetness of the meadow, the warmth of the sun, and the steady hum of wings wrap around you like a soft woven blanket of sound. Here, in this place, you feel time soften, stretching into long, peaceful moments guided by the slow, thoughtful rhythm of the bee's gentle world. The day settles into a soft golden warmth as you return once more to the meadow. Everything feels familiar now, the gentle sway of grasses, the quiet sparkle of sunlight on petals, and the soothing hum that drifts effortlessly through the air like a calm heartbeat. You stand still for a moment, simply listening. The bees move around you with the same peaceful purpose, their tiny wings creating a soft chorus that blends seamlessly with the rustle of leaves overhead. A honeybee glides past your shoulder and lands on a delicate blue flower. You notice her body shimmering faintly, a dusting of pollen caught in the tiny hairs that cover her form. These hairs help her collect pollen without effort, each one acting like a gentle brush as she moves from bloom to bloom. You watch as she extends her tongue, a slender, flexible tube reaching deep into the blossom. Bees can taste sweetness with remarkable sensitivity. Nectar, with even the slightest hint of sugar, becomes a reward, a quiet treasure they gather one drop at a time. Nearby, another bee drifts toward a cluster of blossoms and performs a tiny hop as she lands. Bees often make this tiny bounce to position themselves perfectly on the petals. It's a motion so small you might miss it unless you're watching closely. A gentle adjustment, careful and precise. A solitary leaf-cutter bee appears, her mandibles glinting softly as she explores the plants. Leaf-cutter bees take small, perfect circles from leaves to build the walls of their nests. These cuts never harm the plant deeply. They're delicate, intentional, and always symmetrical, like tiny green coins. She carries each piece as though holding a soft petal, placing it gently inside her nest to cradle future offspring. In the warm air, you notice a faint, sweet smell. Bees produce subtle pheromones that help them communicate, signals of calm, signals of direction, signals that tell others where to gather or when it's time to rest. These scents float invisibly, woven into the meadow's quiet breath. A honeybee returns from a long journey and crosses paths with another forager. They greet with gentle touches of their antennae. Bees can recognize each other, not by sight, but by the delicate blend of fragrances that marks each member of the hive. Their communication is soft, silent, and intuitive. You walk a little further and come across a patch of purple blossoms vibrating with movement. Here, bees are performing their special waggle dance on an open piece of comb. The dance is slow, curving, full of meaning. Through tiny movements, a bee tells her sisters the direction of the flowers, the distance, and even the quality of nectar waiting there. It is a language older than memory, spoken not in words, but in motion. A soft buzz pulls your attention downward. A bumblebee sits quietly on a stone, her wings folded neatly along her back. She seems to be resting, warming herself in the gentle sun. Bumblebees often pause like this, taking small breaks to gather warmth and calm before continuing their journey. You can almost feel the softness of the moment radiating from her stillness. As you watch, she begins to brush her legs together, cleaning off tiny specks of pollen. Bees groom often, not out of vanity, but because cleanliness helps them sense the world, navigate the air, and stay healthy in their delicate bodies. Along the meadow's edge, Wild mint grows in thick, fragrant clusters. Bees adore it. They land with slow confidence, moving from one blossom to the next in looping, mellow paths. Mint offers both nectar and soothing aromas, drawing bees in like the soft promise of comfort. A honeybee circles above a puddle, then lands carefully at the edge. Bees gather water to cool their hive and to dilute honey when feeding the young. They drink slowly, then rise again with light drops glistening on their tongues, carrying that precious water back home like a gift. You find a warm patch of sunlight and sit down, letting the calm seep into your breath. The bees float around you as naturally as falling petals, never hurried, never tense. Their world is built on rhythm, on gentle purpose, on the soft exchange between flower and wing. As you relax, the hum becomes deeper, rounder, as if wrapping around your thoughts like a warm blanket. The bee's presence reminds you that life's sweetness often comes in small, steady moments, gathered patiently from the world around you. Here, in this meadow of warm light and quiet wings, you feel yourself drifting into a peaceful stillness, carried gently by the soft, golden rhythm of the bee's serene world. The afternoon light settles softly across the meadow as you return once again, and the warmth feels like a gentle hand resting on your shoulder. Everything is quiet, unhurried, as though time itself has slowed its pace to match the calm rhythm of the bees. You step through the tall grasses, feeling them brush lightly against your legs, and the familiar hum greets you once more. Soft, warm, steady. The bees are already at work among the blooms, but their movements feel like drifting, not labor, a peaceful flow carried effortlessly from flower to flower. A honeybee lands on a pale pink blossom and begins her gentle exploration. Her feet are incredibly sensitive, able to detect tiny vibrations that tell her whether the flower is full of nectar. This allows her to move calmly through the meadow without wasting a single moment, choosing only the blossoms that quietly invite her in. Nearby, you notice a small patch of flowers where several bees gather. They move among one another with easy precision, never colliding, always adjusting their paths with instinctive grace. Bees sense air currents and the faint tremble of wings nearby, making it easy for them to float around each other in perfect harmony. A tiny sweat bee lands on a buttercup, its metallic green body glinting like a small gem in the sunlight. Sweat bees are gentle creatures drawn to moisture and warmth, and they often spend long moments resting on open petals. Their stillness adds a quiet shimmer to the meadow's golden calm. A larger honeybee moves toward a blossom with a bright yellow center. You notice how the pollen clings to her body as she rolls gently inside the flower. Bees are naturally electrostatically charged, which makes pollen leap lightly from petal to hair as though drawn by invisible threads. It is a tiny, effortless exchange between flower and visitor, woven into the very air around them. You hear a soft crackle of wings as a bumblebee passes close by. Her hum is deeper, fuller, almost velvety in tone. Bumblebees can fly even when the air is cool or the light is fading, thanks to their ability to warm themselves by vibrating their muscles. They bring a kind of steadiness to the meadow's rhythm, a low, comforting note that blends seamlessly into the afternoon. You walk a bit farther and find a honeybee pausing on a broad leaf. She lifts one of her legs and begins to brush her face, cleaning her antennae with slow, delicate strokes. Bees depend on these antennae to sense the world, light, scent, direction. So they keep them immaculate. Watching her, you feel a deep sense of calm, as though her small ritual has somehow spilled gently into your own breath. Along the meadow's edge, a cluster of willow blossoms sways softly in the breeze. These early spring flowers are rich in pollen, and bees rely on them as one of the first major food sources of the year. The fluffy yellow catkins glow with a warm, gentle light as bees land and gather tiny clouds of pollen that cling to their bodies like soft gold dust. In a quieter corner, you find a carpenter bee hovering near a log. Carpenter bees make their nests by gently creating tunnels in wood, but they rarely damage living trees. Their large, glossy bodies seem to hum with calm authority as they explore potential nest sites. Even their heavy flight feels peaceful here, a slow drift rather than a rush. You take a seat beneath a small tree where dappled light flickers like soft, moving water. Above you, bees explore the tiny white blossoms that hang in loose clusters. These flowers produce nectar with a faint, sweet aroma that drifts toward you like a quiet invitation to relax even deeper. A bee flies down and lands nearby, resting on a patch of warm soil. Bees absorb heat through their bodies to regulate their temperature, and sometimes they pause simply to enjoy a patch of sunlight before flying again. This moment feels especially soothing, as if you and the bee are sharing the same warm breath of the earth. Further along the meadow, you notice several bees carrying tiny droplets of water back toward their hive. Bees use water in many ways: to cool the hive, to soften honey, to care for the brood. Each drop is carried with care, held steady as they glide through the air like small, glistening jewels. You close your eyes for a moment and let the hum surround you. The bee's world is gentle, predictable, full of soft exchanges and quiet intention. As you listen, your breathing falls into a slower rhythm, mirroring the calm drift of wings around you. Here, in the softness of the meadow, you feel yourself settling deeper into peace, held in the warm, quiet motion of the bee's serene and golden world. The meadow greets you with an afternoon glow, soft and mellow, as though the sun has wrapped itself in a warm veil of honeyed light. You breathe in slowly, and the air feels smooth, carrying the faint scent of clover, mint, and sun-warmed earth. The hum of bees rises gently around you, a calm, steady sound that seems to float across the field like a warm sigh. As you step forward, you notice a honeybee hovering near a patch of pale blossoms. She moves with careful ease, letting the soft breeze guide her descent. Bees can feel even the slightest shift in wind, adjusting their flight with graceful micro-movements, so subtle they seem almost like thoughts made visible. She lands and begins to explore the flower's center. Her tiny feet carry taste receptors that help her identify nectar quality before she even sips. To her, the surface of a petal is a patterned landscape full of flavor, temperature, and texture cues hidden from human senses. Nearby, a fuzzy bumblebee tucks herself inside a deep-throated bloom. Only the soft roundness of her back peeks out from the petals. Bumblebees are strong enough to push deep into flowers that other bees cannot reach, pollinating plants that rely on their gentle weight and steady determination. You watch as she vibrates her wings in a quiet hum. Buzz pollination. This gentle shaking releases pollen hidden inside the flower, a golden cloud that settles softly onto her body. It is a whisper-light exchange, yet vital to countless plants across the meadow. A little farther away, you notice a honeybee pausing on the edge of a leaf. She stretches one leg backward and brushes along her wings, cleaning them with slow, patient strokes. Bees groom often to keep their wings smooth, their bodies free of dust, and their senses sharp enough to read the delicate messages of the air. A soft flicker catches your attention. A tiny blue bee, shimmering like a piece of sky, lands on a blade of grass. Metallic bees are solitary, living peaceful lives in small burrows or hollow stems. They visit flowers quietly, sipping nectar and carrying pollen in delicate curls along their bellies. Their presence adds hints of vibrant color to the meadow's gentle palette. You move toward a sunny clearing where a group of honeybees gather around a shallow puddle. They drink tiny droplets of water, their antennae touching the surface with exquisite precision. Bees use water to cool their hive, to dilute honey for feeding young, and to regulate the temperature of the entire colony. Each sip is purposeful, a drop of calm carried home beneath a warm afternoon sky. Near a cluster of daisies, two bees cross paths and touch antennae in greeting. Bees share information through these soft taps, details about flowers, directions, and subtle chemical cues that help maintain harmony inside the hive. It is a wordless conversation, gentle and seamless, woven entirely from scent and intention. You notice a tall stalk of foxglove swaying lightly. Its bell-shaped flowers are perfect for bees, offering narrow chambers filled with nectar. Bees crawl inside, their bodies brushing against the speckled walls as they collect pollen. The foxglove blooms seem to glow from within, their soft purples and pinks deepening in the warm light. A carpenter bee hovers nearby, her wings creating a low, soothing thrum. She inspects the bark of a fallen branch, looking for a place to create her nest. Carpenter bees carve their tunnels with calm persistence, never hurrying, always shaping the wood with a rhythm as steady as the growing season itself. A gentle breeze rolls across the meadow, and you see a few bees lift higher, riding the warm currents of air. Bees are sensitive to temperature shifts, seeking pockets of warmth that help them fly farther with less effort. Their flight paths rise and fall with the heat, like quiet waves moving through sunlight. You settle onto a patch of soft grass and close your eyes for a moment. The hum around you becomes rounder, fuller, a natural lullaby woven from wings and wind. You feel your breath slow as the bee's calm presence settles over you. In this gentle afternoon light, with bees drifting lazily among the blooms, you feel wrapped in the warm stillness of the meadow. Every movement around you is soft, purposeful, and full of quiet harmony. Here, in the golden hush of bees and flowers, you sense the world breathing with you, slowly, gently, as the day melts deeper into calm. The meadow welcomes you back with a warm, late afternoon glow, as though the sun itself is slowing down to rest beside you. Everything feels softer now, the breeze gentler, the colors deeper, the hum of bees low and velvety, like a quiet lullaby drifting through the air. You take a slow step forward, feeling the earth warm beneath your feet. The light brushes through the grasses in shimmering waves, and the bees move through it as if gliding through honeyed air. A honeybee lands nearby on a cluster of tiny white blossoms. Her movements are calm, each step thoughtful as she explores the flower's center. You notice how her wings catch the light in translucent layers so thin they seem carved from sunlight. Bees' wings are strong yet delicate, designed to fold and flex with perfect ease as they move through shifting breezes. She dips her head into the blossom, and you see a tiny shimmer, a droplet of nectar catching the sun. Bees can carry nectar in a special chamber inside their bodies, holding it gently until they return to the hive. It's a soft exchange between flower and visitor, warm as the air around you. You notice a small shadow drift past and look up to see a bumblebee moving toward a tall foxglove bloom. Her flight is steady and low, a deep hum resonating from her round body. When she reaches the flower, she disappears inside the pink chamber like a small lantern entering a quiet room. Bumblebees often linger longer in blossoms, enjoying the shelter and warmth, and sometimes gently rocking the petals as they rest. As she backs out again, her entire coat is powdered with pollen. Bumblebee fur is thick and soft, designed to hold warmth and carry pollen with ease. Each grain of pollen she carries helps connect one flower to another, carrying quiet threads of life across the meadow. A solitary bee drifts past you toward a patch of soft, sandy ground. She circles once, twice, and then lands to begin exploring. Many solitary bees make their nests in the earth, digging small tunnels where each egg will rest in its own chamber with a gentle supply of pollen. The soil is warm here, the perfect cradle for a new generation. You kneel nearby and watch as she works. Her legs move with soft precision, shifting grains of sand like a tiny sculptor shaping a calm, hidden home. There is something soothing in the quiet persistence of her motion, a reminder that even the smallest acts can be peaceful and purposeful. Above you, the leaves of a small tree rustle lightly, and bees explore the clusters of blossoms that hang like little white bells. These flowers offer nectar rich in subtle flavors, and bees can taste the difference between one tree and another. Their sense of taste is fine and delicate, allowing them to choose the sweetest blooms with gentle wisdom. A honeybee hovers near your hand for a moment, curious, calm. You stay still, and she senses your peaceful presence. Bees rarely fear stillness. They read your quiet energy through scent, movement, and the warmth of your skin. Satisfied, she drifts on, a soft flicker of gold in the warm air. A little farther ahead, you see a group of bees clustered around a shallow stone. Moisture beads on its surface, and the bees drink slowly, absorbing water to carry back to their hive. Bees use water not just for drinking, but for cooling the hive and caring for their young. Every droplet they collect is a tiny offering to the whole community. You walk deeper into the meadow and find a patch of lavender glowing in the golden light. Bees adore lavender, its color, its scent, its gentle clusters of nectar-rich blooms. They move between the blossoms with a serene rhythm, pausing just long enough to gather sweetness before drifting to the next flower. A gentle hum gathers around you as more bees explore the lavender. Their vibrations carry through the stems and into the warm air, filling the clearing with a soft, soothing resonance. You feel it in your chest, matching your breath as it slows naturally with the calm atmosphere around you. You sit down among the grasses and close your eyes. The hum blends with your heartbeat, the scents of flowers linger, and the warmth of the day rests softly on your skin. You feel surrounded by the tender harmony of bees moving gently through the fading afternoon. Here, wrapped in the quiet glow of wings and blossoms, you feel a deep sense of stillness that settles over you like a warm, golden blanket. The evening light begins to settle gently over the meadow as you return once more to the bees' quiet world. The sun hangs low, casting long, soft rays that turn every blade of grass into a thin line of gold. You feel the warmth lingering in the air, a calm, comforting reminder that the day is slowly drifting toward rest. The hum of bees is softer now, not gone, just mellowed, as though the entire meadow is beginning to exhale. A honeybee floats past you with slow, deliberate movements, her wings shimmering in the warm light. Bees often finish their foraging as the day cools, using the last bit of sunlight to return home with their gathered treasures. You can sense her calm focus, her gentle intention as she glides toward a cluster of late-blooming flowers. She lands on a soft purple bloom and moves in a slow circle, her antennae tracing the petals like fingertips gliding along silk. Bees use their antennae as delicate sensors, tasting the air, feeling the flower's temperature, and sensing the fine traces of nectar that lie hidden inside. Nearby, a bumblebee drifts heavily from one blossom to another. Her deep, warm hum fills the air like a small lullaby. Bumblebees can fly later in the day thanks to the warmth stored in their soft bodies. They carry the heat of the sun with them, like little glowing embers moving through the cooling meadow. You watch her as she disappears into the soft funnel of a foxglove flower, her whole body embraced by the gentle walls of the blossom. She rests there for a moment, letting the flowers support her as she gathers nectar. Bumblebees often linger inside blooms just to enjoy their quiet shelter, especially as the day winds down. A honeybee hovers above a patch of clover, then dips low to land on a petal. She begins to groom her face, cleaning her eyes and antennae with slow, careful motions. Bees take time to groom after a long day of foraging, removing dust and resetting their senses before returning home. The ritual feels calming to watch, as though her stillness is gently shaping the evening air. A solitary bee emerges from a narrow stem nearby. She steps out slowly, stretching her wings in the soft light. Solitary bees often return to simple nests, tiny tunnels in wood or soil that hold their carefully prepared chambers. You imagine the quiet inside those nests. Each little room filled with a single bead of golden pollen waiting to nourish a future life. A soft murmur of wings rises above you. A group of honeybees perform their final flights of the day, circling gently in loose spirals as they orient themselves with the fading sun. Bees use the angle of sunlight to navigate, but even as dusk approaches, they can sense direction through subtle patterns in the sky that remain invisible to human eyes. You notice one bee returning to the hive with tiny specks of propolis clinging to her legs. Propolis is a resin gathered from tree sap, warm and sticky, and bees use it to seal small openings in their hive. It has a scent reminiscent of pine and honey, a soothing aroma that keeps the hive safe, clean, and gently fragrant. Along the meadow's edge, you see bees floating around the last open blossoms of evening primrose. These flowers bloom as daylight fades, offering fresh nectar to late-flying visitors. Their petals open slowly in the cooling air, unfurling like soft, glowing lanterns, inviting every bee to take one last sip before night. A honeybee pauses on a warm stone, resting her wings. Bees sometimes choose stones or branches to absorb the last traces of heat before returning home. Her tiny body reflects the sunlight in a faint golden shimmer, a small spark of warmth in the deepening calm. You sit down in the grass and watch as the meadow shifts from gold to amber, from amber to soft gray. The bees' hum grows quieter, but never disappears, a steady, peaceful rhythm guiding the transition from day toward night. As the air cools, you feel the weight of the day fall gently away. The bees around you move with soft confidence, reminding you that even as light fades, there is beauty in slowing down, in gathering moments, in resting softly. The meadow's stillness wraps around you like a warm, calming blanket, and the bees' gentle world becomes your own for a while. Quiet, golden, and deeply serene. The meadow feels different now as you return, quieter, softer, as though the evening has wrapped everything in a gentle veil of calm. The light has turned to a warm amber, settling low across the grasses and stretching shadows into long, delicate ribbons. You breathe slowly, letting the quiet settle into your chest. The hum of bees is softer now, almost like a distant warm vibration carried by the cooling air. A honeybee drifts slowly toward a cluster of blossoms that still glow faintly in the evening light. Her movements feel unhurried, each one smooth and deliberate. Bees often make their last visits of the day to flowers that stay open longer, blossoms like evening primrose and soft, pale campion that release fresh nectar as the sky begins to dim. She lands gently, her legs brushing the petals with the lightest touch. You see how easily pollen collects on her body, drawn to her by a tiny electrical charge that forms naturally as she flies. It's a quiet exchange, a soft connection between flower and visitor. Nearby, a bumblebee settles heavily on a warm leaf and rests there, her wings folded neatly along her back. Bumblebees sometimes spend the night in the shelter of flowers or foliage, choosing places that still hold a little of the day's warmth. Her deep hum fades slowly as she relaxes, content in the peaceful dusk. A solitary bee appears beside you, moving carefully through the low grasses. She explores the ground with precision, seeking the entrance to her small nest, a tiny tunnel hidden beneath the soil. Solitary bees return home with the same calm focus each evening, guided by the shapes, scents, and textures they memorize through the day. You watch her disappear gently into the earth, her tiny world tucked away in the cool quiet below the meadow. A honeybee returns from her final foraging flight and pauses on a stem near you. She lifts one leg and begins to clean her antennae with slow, rhythmic strokes. This evening, grooming helps her reset after a long day, removing dust, refreshing her senses, and preparing for the warmth of the hive. In the distance, you see other bees circling near their home, performing slow orientation arcs in the fading light. Even now, with the sun low and the air thick with calm, they navigate with perfect ease. The sky holds patterns of polarized light that guide them, a quiet map they read instinctively as daylight softens. A faint scent reaches you on the breeze, something warm and resinous, propolis. Bees use this tree resin as a natural sealant for their hive, patching small gaps and creating a smooth, protective interior. It has a soothing aroma, a blend of pine and honey that seems to slow your breath the moment it touches the air. You walk a little farther and notice a honeybee perched on a fading blossom. Some flowers release their sweetest nectar at dusk, and bees know this. They gather those last gentle drops that the evening offers, appreciating the cool calm that settles over the field. A small mason bee hovers nearby, carrying a tiny piece of leaf curled perfectly into a soft green circle. She holds it delicately, almost tenderly. As she carries it back to her nest, her work is calm, steady, dedicated to building quiet chambers for the next generation. The breeze shifts, and you hear the faint rustle of wild mint swaying behind you. A few bees move among the blossoms one last time, drinking in the herb's soothing scent. Mint's fragrance lingers in the air, creating a blanket of cool sweetness that wraps itself around the meadow. As the sky deepens from amber to soft lavender, you sit down in the grass and let the hum drift over you. The bees' movements are slower now, their wings humming in long, mellow tones that feel like they're soothing the very air. You close your eyes and breathe gently, feeling the warmth of the day melting into the calm of evening. The world around you moves with softness, bees settling into their nests, flowers folding inward, light fading in quiet layers, and in this tranquil glow, you feel held by the peaceful rhythm of the bees' evening world, a world full of soft sounds, tender movements, and the comforting hush that comes just before night. The meadow has grown even quieter as you return to it now, wrapped in the soft blue hush that settles just before night fully arrives. The air feels cooler, but still gentle against your skin, carrying a faint sweetness from the flowers that remain open at dusk. You take a slow breath, and the world around you seems to settle with you. The grasses shifting softly, the petals closing in delicate folds, and the bees moving with the last traces of daylight guiding them home. A honeybee drifts low across the field, her wings beating with a quieter rhythm than in the bright hours of the day. Evening flights are calmer, measured, full of the day's final purpose. She pauses on a blossom that glows faintly in the dimming light, taking one last sip of nectar before returning home. You notice how her movements feel different now, slower, softer, as though she too has grown drowsy in the cool air. Bees prefer warmth and often slow down naturally as night approaches. Nearby, a bumblebee curls herself inside a half-closed flower. Bumblebees often sleep in blossoms, nestled in the soft petals, like tiny warm lanterns wrapped in silk. Her round body fits perfectly inside the flower's gentle curve, and you can almost sense the calm breath of her rest. A solitary bee appears briefly, hovering near a cluster of evening blooms. She circles once, her wings catching the last whisper of sunlight, then settles near her small nest entrance in the soil. Solitary bees end their day, not in a hive, but in quiet underground corridors or hollow stems, each one tucked into a peaceful space she crafted herself. You watch as she disappears into the cool earth, leaving only a faint rustle of shifting soil behind. A honeybee lands on a leaf and begins to groom herself, running her legs carefully over her wings and eyes. Evening grooming removes the pollen and dust left from a full day of foraging. Her movements are slow, almost meditative, like a quiet ritual before rest. Above you, a few bees drift lazily through the dimming sky. Bees can sense when the light is fading through receptors in their eyes that detect intensity, not just color. As the sky darkens, these tiny signals tell them it's time to return home. You follow their path to a cluster of hollow logs and stones near the meadow's edge. The faint scent of propolis lingers in the air, a soothing blend of resin and honey. This natural material keeps the hive sealed, warm, and protected during the night. Its aroma carries a kind of calm that sinks easily into your breath. A honeybee arrives at the entrance, pausing for a moment as guard bees greet her. They touch antennae gently, reading her scent, welcoming her back into the warmth. Inside, the hive glows with the faint heat of thousands of tiny bodies moving in harmony. You take a step deeper into the meadow, where soft evening primrose continues to open its petals. These flowers bloom at night, offering nectar to any late-flying bees who linger in the dusk. Their bright centers seem to shine softly even in the low light. Nearby, you notice a patch of wild mint stirring in the breeze. Its fragrance grows stronger in the cool air, and bees that pass close move more slowly, as though soothed by its scent. A small leaf cutter bee flies overhead, carrying a delicate strip of leaf toward her nest. Even at dusk, she continues her gentle work, knowing she is close to finishing a tiny, perfect chamber for her young. You sit down in the grass and close your eyes for a moment. The hum around you has softened into a low, warm vibration, not loud enough to demand attention, but steady enough to lull you deeper into relaxation. The sky shifts from lavender to deep blue, and the first stars blink quietly into place. The bees slip into their homes, their world folding slowly into a peaceful night. You breathe deeply, and it feels as though the entire meadow breathes with you. The hush of petals, the restfulness of bees, the gentle exhale of a day coming to an end. Here, in the soft blue calm of evening, surrounded by the quiet work of bees slowing into night, you feel a deep, warm stillness settling inside you. Night has begun to settle fully over the meadow as you step back into this familiar, gentle world. The last traces of sunset have softened into a deep, velvety blue, and the air feels cool and sweet, carrying the faint scent of wild herbs and night-blooming flowers. You breathe in slowly, and the whole meadow seems to hush around you, as though all its creatures are easing into a quiet rest. The bees are mostly home now, their daytime hum replaced by a softer stillness that feels warm and protective. Yet, the meadow is not entirely silent. You can still sense the faintest flutter of wings nearby, like soft sighs drifting through the dark. A single honeybee drifts past you, moving slowly, as if reluctant to end her day. Bees rarely fly at night, but sometimes they linger a little longer in the dusk, their instincts guiding them gently back toward the warmth of the hive. She lands on a flower that remains open in the moonlight, a soft white bloom, glowing faintly like a little lantern. Some flowers store nectar for nocturnal visitors, and bees can sense this sweetness even in low light. Her movements are unhurried, full of a tenderness that seems to match the quiet night. Nearby, a bumblebee sleeps inside a blossom. Her body is curled like a small, furry ember nestled among the petals. The flower holds her softly, creating a warm cradle that keeps out the cool night air. Bumblebees often sleep alone in blossoms, finding peaceful rest in the heart of a single flower. You move farther into the meadow, your steps quiet in the soft grass. A faint shimmer catches your eye. Dew beginning to form, settling gently on petals and leaves. Bees will drink from these droplets in the morning, using them as fresh water before the day warms. You approach the hives resting near a cluster of trees. The air feels warmer here, as though the hive gives off its own soft glow. Inside, the bees cluster together, their bodies creating a gentle heat that keeps the colony warm through the night. They move just enough to maintain the perfect temperature, a slow, steady pulse of shared warmth. From within the hive, you sense a faint vibration, not loud, but rhythmic, a quiet hum of life. Bees continue their tiny tasks even in darkness, adjusting the brood temperature, tending to the queen, shifting gently across the comb. Their movements are slow, calm, and deeply coordinated. You sit near the hive, letting the subtle warmth brush against your skin. The scent of wax and propolis floats softly in the air, a warm, soothing aroma that feels like a natural lullaby. In the distance, a solitary bee returns to her nest. Her home may be a hollow stem, a crack in old wood, or a small tunnel in the earth. She slips inside with the quiet confidence of knowing she has everything prepared. Tiny chambers lined with leaves, each holding a gentle store of pollen for her young. Her night is peaceful, wrapped in the simplicity of her small, safe nest. Above you, the first stars shine with a soft, steady glow. Bees do not navigate by starlight, yet the night sky still feels connected to their world. It casts a calm over the meadow they tend, lifting the entire landscape into a deeper stillness. A gentle breeze moves through the grasses, creating soft waves of movement. The flowers respond, their petals swaying slightly as though nodding into sleep. Some release their night scents, a cool sweetness that drifts across the field and settles around you. You lie back in the grass and close your eyes for a moment. In the quiet night, you can still sense that faint, lingering hum of bees resting in their hive, a sound woven so deeply into the fabric of the meadow that even in silence, it remains. Here, under the stars, with the flowers folding inward and the bees warm in their nests, you feel a deep and gentle calm settle into your chest, a softness that seems to glow from within the night itself. Night has deepened fully now, and the meadow feels like a soft, breathing hush spreading beneath the dark sky. You step gently into the cool air, and the world around you seems wrapped in layers of quiet, the kind of quiet that feels warm rather than empty, full rather than silent. The stars shimmer above you with a calm, steady glow, their light falling softly across the tops of the grasses. The moon rises slowly, casting a pale silver sheen over petals, leaves, and soil, turning the entire meadow into a gentle, glowing dream. The bees are resting now. Their hum has faded into a serene, low vibration coming from deep within their homes, less a sound and more a feeling, like a quiet warmth beneath the cool night. You move closer to the hive, careful with each step. Even at night, the hive maintains a perfect temperature through thousands of tiny movements. The bees gather close around the brood in a living circle of warmth, their bodies rising and falling in a slow, collective rhythm. Inside, the queen rests at the center, surrounded by her gentle attendants. Her presence keeps the colony calm, and the faint scent she releases helps every bee feel the quiet harmony of home. This scent spreads softly through the hive, like a warm whisper woven through the stillness. You sit near the hive entrance and breathe deeply. The aroma of wax and honey feels round and comforting, as though the air itself is wrapped in a soothing blanket. Bees store their honey in perfect hexagonal cells, each one sealed carefully with a thin cap of wax. Even at night, the honey remains warm inside, held gently within the hive's steady glow. A solitary bee moves nearby, emerging briefly from her small nest in the soil. Perhaps the cool breeze stirred her, or the change in air around her entrance made her curious. She steps outside with slow, cautious motions and rests on a small pebble that still holds a bit of daytime warmth. After a moment, she returns to her underground chamber, settling back into her quiet nest with the ease of someone curling into a soft bed. You rise and wander slightly deeper into the meadow, where night-blooming flowers have opened fully. White campion, moonflower, even a few evening primrose blossoms glow like gentle lanterns in the darkness. Though bees rarely fly at night, their earlier touch still lingers on the petals, a soft memory of the day's warmth. A faint breeze stirs the grasses, and dew gathers along their edges, glinting in small silver beads that catch the moonlight. Bees will drink from these droplets in the morning, but for now they rest quietly, waiting in the cool air like tiny gifts for the sunrise. You sit down among the flowers and tilt your head back toward the deep sky. The constellations appear brighter here, far from noise or urgency. Everything feels slower, softer, as though the night has smoothed out every sharp edge of the day. Nearby, a soft rustle inside a blossom catches your attention. A bumblebee shifts gently within her floral shelter, adjusting her position as the petals cradle her more closely. Flowers create natural sleeping places for these bees, warm, protective chambers with soft curves that hold them like small beds. You close your eyes for a moment and listen to the deep quiet. The meadow moves only in subtle ways, a whisper of grass, a cool drift of air, the barely there pulse coming from the hive. You feel your breath slowing, matching the calm rhythm of the night around you. Here, in this soft darkness, surrounded by flowers folded into sleep and bees resting in their warm homes, you sense a deep stillness that feels almost luminous. The world is holding its breath in the most gentle way, and you are held within it, safe, quiet, and wrapped in the peaceful night. Night has settled completely over the meadow now, soft and deep, as though the sky has wrapped the world in a velvety blanket of stillness. You step gently into the cool air, and everything around you feels calm and unhurried, resting in the quiet rhythm that only the night can bring. The moon hangs high, casting a pale silver glow across the tops of the grasses. Each blade shimmers softly, touched by the faintest glimmer of light. The flowers, folded into themselves, look like small, sleeping faces, and the air feels smooth as it slips past your skin. The bees are resting deeply now. Inside the hive, their bodies huddled together in a warm, steady cluster. The brood stays wrapped in the gentle heat that thousands of tiny wings maintain even in the cool darkness. It is a soft, living warmth, quiet, comforting, like a faint heartbeat hidden deep within the wooden walls. You sit beside the hive, feeling the subtle glow of its presence. The scent of wax and propolis still lingers in the air, warm and soothing, as though the hive itself is breathing out a calming exhale. A single honeybee at the entrance shifts slightly in her sleep, her small body moving with the faintest ripple. Guard bees often rest near the entrance, gently monitoring the air, even during the calmest hours of night. But tonight, everything is peaceful, and their stillness shows it. You look upward, through the open space between the branches. The stars burn softly across the deep indigo sky, each one flickering like a distant spark of calm energy. Even the night air feels slow, as though it is drifting in wide, easy circles across the meadow. A bumblebee sleeps in a flower nearby, her round form curled like a small, warm pebble inside the petals. The blossom bends slightly under her weight, holding her with the natural tenderness of a cradle shaped by nature. She doesn't move, just rests, held in a soft cocoon of petals and darkness. The solitary bees are tucked away too, some in tiny chambers of leaf-lined tunnels, some in hollow stems, some beneath the soil where the earth hugs them with steady, grounding quiet. Each one sleeps alone, yet the meadow feels full of their resting presence, like small pockets of calm scattered all around you. You lie back in the grass and feel the cool earth supporting your body. The night has no rush, no edges, no urgency, just the deep breath of the world moving slowly around you. The soft hum of the hive is barely audible, more sensation than sound, a warm memory of daytime woven into the peaceful dark. You inhale gently, letting the quiet fill you. The meadow feels safe here, soft and whole, as though it is holding you in the same way it holds the bees, with patience, with warmth, with easy, natural calm. The breeze drifts across your face like a soft whisper. The stars shimmer. The hive glows faintly in the dark. Everything is still. And in this deep, gentle night, you feel yourself soften too, your breath slowing, your thoughts quieting, your body settling into the same peaceful rhythm that guides the bees through their rest. You let your eyes drift closed. The warmth of the hive, the hush of the meadow, the softness of the night all wrap around you like a tender embrace. Here, in the quiet heart of nature, you are safe, you are held, and you can finally let yourself rest. Close your eyes now and let the calm of the bees' world carry you gently into your own peaceful sleep.